Hey everybody, welcome back to MUFC versus everybody. I am your host Sean. Just want to make sure the mic is working. Looks like it's working just fine. Everybody hear me? Hopefully you can. Again, welcome back to MUFC versus everybody, where we talk about anything and everything under the sun related to Manchester United. I know, another Manchester United fan channel. That's exactly what we need, right? More of those. I mean, why not? We're the biggest club in the world. We have the biggest fan base in the world, biggest following, biggest support worldwide. Why not have the biggest number of fan channels in the world as well? So obviously, I'm nowhere near any of the other channels that you guys are probably familiar with, um, but that's okay. I think that I offer something a little different, and hopefully, you guys agree. So before we get started today, don't forget to hit the like button on the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. It just lets me know, who's watching, who's engaging, what you guys think, and also helps us grow so we can reach more people, get more people involved, build our own little community here as we still work. We've been going, about a month or so now. I've got just over about 50 videos or so. So it's been great to see everybody watching the videos, seeing a like button get hit, some comments here and there. I do enjoy it. I did start kind of writing on my own, and then I got started with Steady News for a few months, and then I decided, maybe this is, in a way, it's a little easier, but also in a way, it's a little harder because it's constant, right? But I enjoy it. I really do. I just love talking about United, and this feels a little bit more natural than just kind of writing and then just posting and letting it do its thing. So thank you guys for, giving me the confidence and the opportunity to do this. I appreciate that, and I'm really looking forward to engaging more with everyone. Today we do have our Arsenal preview. I was waiting till after. I usually like to wait till after Ten Hag's press conference if possible. It doesn't always work out that way, but that way I'm at least up to date with any team news, any injuries, anything like that. And so it just worked out today. I had a lot going on this morning, wasn't able to jump on this morning. But then I thought, we'll go a little bit later with the news roundup, which we will do as well. But then we'll also kind of tack on the Arsenal preview with that as well. So hopefully you guys will indulge me. How's everybody doing tonight? Anyway, it's about almost 7 o'clock p.m. where I'm at in the U.S. I don't know where everyone's watching from. Let me know what you guys are getting up to tonight. I just had an early dinner, made myself my wife and I some ramen. Not the cheap stuff that you get from like Kroger or the gas station, like the little 10 cent and all these. There's an Asian grocery market not too far from us. And I get like the big packets of like the good stuff, like that I can't pronounce because I can't read, Japanese, but it's the good stuff. They throw a bunch of stuff in there, like some broccoli and some edamame and maybe some shrimp or some pork belly here and there. But we enjoy it. We probably eat it once a week. I really do enjoy it. Throw a little kimchi in there, a lot of other things that I can't pronounce. My buddy Justin will tell me how to pronounce a lot of that stuff. He spent a year in South Korea teaching, and some of the things I put in there are actually Korean. So like what's called daobaki, which is like a thick rice noodle that's chopped up, and then the paste. I always forget how to pronounce the paste, but it's all good. I enjoy it. So in any case, that's me talking about what I had for dinner because everybody wants to know that, right? But let me know what you're having for dinner tonight, what you guys are getting up to. Let's get stuck in with a little bit of news roundup, and then we'll dive into the preview of the match this weekend because we can only put off talking about it for so long before we actually have to go ahead and take care of it. So anyway, let's dive right in. We've got some more kind of house cleaning updates as far as Sir Jim and Ineos and co are getting involved more and more with the day-to-day life at United, at our training ground, at our facilities overall. We spoke a little bit about Sir Jim recently doing a tour, and he wasn't too happy with the state of the IT department, the state of the U18s and the U21s dressing room. And then also he wanted people to start coming back to working from the office and not working from home, which he's well within his rights to ask. I think that, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a reason we have offices, right? So now Sir Dave Brailsford, sorry, We have a lot of knights at this club. Sir Alex, Sir Jim, Sir Dave, Sir Marcus Rashford. Like I said, it's like Camelot. So Sir Dave recently visited Carrington. This is coming from Samuel Luckhurst, by the way, this little bit. Sir Dave Brailsford has been doing like an audit of United's kind of infrastructure, their facilities, top to bottom. And so his findings and the way he kind of compiled these and shared these to United's executives and the hierarchy was very impressive. Apparently, his feedback, his findings were very impressive. They were very pleased with what they heard. However, he did assert that our training facilities, namely Carrington, which all that was included in that audit, he says is not state of the art. It's not representative of a club of United status. Obviously, Carrington, it was state of the art 2 decades ago when we switched over there. We moved from the Cliff to Carrington. Hasn't been touched since, pretty much, and it shows. I mean, and what else is new, right? We've seen everything else at this club just not be touched since the Glazers took over, and I think that it's not a surprise that Carrington is kind of lumped into that group. We've been training there for more than 2 decades, but it just hasn't been upgraded, and it sounds like Sir Dave wants us to kind of move on, whether that means renovate it or completely new site. I know there was talk a few months ago that we were looking at some golf courses in the area that we were maybe going to take over and kind of turn into training ground. I don't know what's happening there, but maybe we can use Carrington for something else still. But it doesn't sound like, kind of like the stadium, it sounds like one of the options is just a complete clean slate, move on, start brand new, which some people they go back and forth. And I'm sure ex-players who would probably have more to say about Carrington than current players, maybe. Just like players from like the 90s and 80s probably will have more sentimental attachment to the Cliff as well. I know Thierry Henry, for instance, has spoken about, how difficult it was for him to go to the Emirates after playing at Highbury for so long. If you watch, I forget what video that's from. It's from a very long time ago, but he said it was difficult. So these places do have emotional connection to players, to coaches, to fans. And so I hear all that. When I took my first trip to Manchester last year in March and walking from the hotel down that main road, I didn't really getting my bearings, not really knowing where I'm going. My buddy and I are looking at his phone, trying to figure out where we're going. And it was just, I remember it hit me. I turned the corner and I wasn't expecting it because I clearly didn't know where I was. And right in front of me was Old Trafford for the first time in my life. And it was like, it hit me. I got emotional, right? And I had never even been there before. I'm not a player. I'm not from Manchester, but it was like a culmination of decades of just support and love and excitement and memories and emotion of all this club. I was face to face with it literally in that moment. And I remember that feeling, and I'll never forget that feeling. And I'm so happy to get to go back again since. I'm so happy to hopefully get to go again in the fall. That's going to depend a lot on whether or not we qualify for Europe, because I do like to try to squeeze in 2 matches when I go. It's really not worth it to fly over for 1 match. So we'll see how that goes. But in any case, Carrington might be moving on from that. We'll see how it goes. There's a lot. When I hear that, I hear, Dan Ashworth, I hear players, I hear debts, I hear a new stadium, I hear FFP, and I hear Carrington, and I'm like, I hear another expense that could impact our overall ability to spend, our overall budget, all that. And so priorities, and then the project's going to take several years. It's not going to be a 1, 2 year, 3 year fix. It might be a 6, 7, 8 year process when it comes to a lot of this stuff. A lot of the players that are there now, even guys like Garnacho, even Mainu, might not be there anymore by the time we really see some of this stuff turn a recognizable corner. So I think people need to prepare for that, not because Ten Hag's crap, not because the new owners are crap, but because the previous owners have literally just it's the things that they've neglected, and then the things that they did just horribly wrong. Take any number of right decisions or even good decisions, and then they seem to just keep taking the opposite option. And so that's the kind of stuff that we have to deal with. So I don't envy Sir Jim and his team. But I think as fans, we do also have the right to expect to see some positive changes in the right direction sooner than later. We're not expecting Champions League trophies or Premier League trophies next year. We want to see something, some sort of sign of intent, some sort of progress on something. So we'll see how it goes. I'll talk about a little bit of United player news. So Casemiro, if you guys have been following along, Casemiro has not been called up for Brazil squad for the Copa America this season, for the next one. Now we can speculate all we want to about why Dorival Jr. didn't select Casemiro. Whether that's form, just overall decline, maybe ushering a new generation of Brazil players, younger players like João Gomez, things like that. But it is what it is. The writing's kind of on the wall with Casemiro. We know he's not been good. We know that, obviously he was injured for a while, and a lot of that was on United's medical staff. But he has not been good, especially in this last month or so when he's been playing. He's not looked up to it. And it's very publicly seen. Like, you can't hide the fact. And so why would you want to call up a player like that to your national team? For leadership, I mean, there are other players who can step up and take over in a leadership capacity in that regard. So it's going to be interesting to see what Casemiro's future holds. A lot of this is going to be in his hands. Problem is, we paid a lot for him. He's on high wages, and we for some reason we gave him a very long contract. I think he's got several years left on his contract with United. So we did talk yesterday about how Al Nassr, a Saudi club, we're preparing a bid for him. We'll see if that comes to fruition or not. Excuse me 1 second. But who knows? But he's not been good enough this season, and it's anyone's guess what's going to happen in the summer. But I think we're all ready to kind of let Casemiro go. There's no shame in admitting as a player when maybe it's time to think about either taking a step down in terms of just the league and the competition itself that you're in. There's no shame in admitting when it's time to maybe hang up the boots. The real shame is just not admitting it until it's too late. Going that extra season too long and realizing, all right, this is getting to be embarrassing now. If you watch Welcome to Wrexham, the season 3 just premiered last week. Ben Foster kind of went through that little bit of internal struggle first few games into the season that the show is covering. He admitted, after a few goals, I think they conceded like 14 goals in their first several games. He just realized, I can't do this anymore. So he went in and told the gaffer that it was time to hang him up. So it happens. It's not fun. We've seen a lot of players retire over the years. I remember watching Beckham's final match with PSG. Ibrahimovic just retired last season. It's hard, but it is what happens. I think that it's not the end of life, right? It's a transition to something else. So nothing wrong with Casemiro admitting that maybe he can go play in a different league somewhere. Maybe Saudi league is probably best for him. So good luck to him wherever he goes. I want to talk a little bit about Ten Hag's press conference. Obviously, I wanted to wait until after that came out today. Just the timing, I just decided, we'll just wait till after and we'll do it. But we'll talk a little bit about some of the questions that he was asked. We'll talk a little bit about some team news, and then we'll go in the preview of that Arsenal match and see where we're going from there. So Ten Hag was asked if he was worried about his job, which I don't understand why journalists feel the need to ask questions like that. Specifically, they brought up Louis van Gaal as an example of, are you worried about your job since Louis van Gaal won the FA Cup and he was sacked the next day? To which Ten Hag responded simply, no. He continued to say, the owners have common sense. You see, when we have 32 different back lines, we've used 13 partnerships in center half. When they see we don't have a left back, they know that will have a negative impact on results. It's a huge FA Cup final. We are happy to be there. It can be a highlight for this season. We know the reasons we are underperforming is because of the injuries. No team will perform when you have so many injuries in key areas. So we've spoken about the injuries before. To an extent, yes, I agree. Injuries, I don't care what club you are, when you have this many injuries, especially to all your defenders, you're gonna struggle. My problem is I've never criticized Ten Hag for injuries. I don't blame him for training. I'm not saying he needs to get over it. I'm saying when you have these injuries, you need to do better, which I don't think he's done. He's not changed his tactics up at all, which he needs to do in this kind of situation. Also, the reason we're underperforming is not solely down for injuries. When I hear someone say performing, I don't think of the fact that we have injuries. I look at the players who are actually on the pitch who are performing, or in this case, not. We're underperforming because the players just aren't up for it. They don't look like, their body language is awful. They look a step behind the opposition no matter who we play, whether it's Burnley or City or Arsenal maybe this weekend. We don't look up for it. And so it's a huge problem. So when I hear Ten Hag say the reason we're underperforming is because of injuries, I have to kind of hold up my hand and say, hold on there, boss. We're struggling because of injuries, yes, but performing wise, no, we're not performing because the players are not doing it. And you're setting them up sometimes tactically, positionally, to almost fail in some ways. Like, what is Casemiro doing pushing so far up in the final third when he's playing center back? We lose the ball in that situation. Now it's only Johnny Evans and Andre Onana who are on their own, which killed us against Palace. So that wasn't because of injury. That was because Casemiro, a 31-year-old Champions League winner, decided to go on a walkabout and leave his defender high and dry. And this was a half-fit Johnny Evans too, by the way. So then Ten Hag was asked if he'd like the new owners to issue a statement of public support for him, which, what a stupid freaking question. Like, what a waste of a question. What a waste of everyone's time. Do you want them to back you in public? Like, why? And so Ten Hag responded, this question you have to ask the owners. So you have to ask them, not me. This is your opinion that he would prefer a public show. So he's saying, no, that's your opinion that I would like that. I'm not saying that. You have to question them. He said, I don't care if they do or they don't provide clarity. I'm working on improving and developing my team. That is my job here. So Ten Hag, with a question like that, it's like a dream. It's like a lose-lose for him. It's a dream situation for the media. It's a dream situation for rival fans. It's a lose-lose for Ten Hag. And again, we've seen this how many times. It's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, right? If a manager gets a public show of support, which we've seen several times, then it's that's the kiss of death. The media will tear that apart. Like, it's the kiss of death. We've seen this before. If a manager doesn't get support, then you've got questions like this. Why are the owners silent? Don't you want them to back you in public? I swear, like, it's such a dumb question. Anybody can be a journalist. Grab somebody off the street and tell them to go sit in that press room and just let them ask any question they want at this rate. I mean, is all you need to pass, like, to qualify as a journalist, just a blue tick on your Twitter account these days? I mean, this is ridiculous, these kind of questions. I would have literally asked him, do you have anything in mind against a very tough, high energy, high pressing, lethal Arsenal side, considering that you've been struggling against teams from all over the table in recent weeks? Do you have are you thinking about changing any tactics? Are you thinking about going with a different formation, different players, different style of play? Like, are you taking a look at some of that? These are important questions, because these are questions I hope Ten Hag's asking himself. These are questions that I hope his coaches are asking him, or even maybe his players. We know at Ajax, the players are brought up to ask questions, to problem solve, to think critically, and even sometimes, challenge and not defy, like in a stubborn way, but just challenge the plan sometimes. And it's okay, because that's how you learn. That's how you develop. It's okay to ask why. That's a very important question in life. Not from a stubborn, defiant standpoint, but just a personal edification and clarity and problem solving kind of standpoint. So moving on to some team news here. So United tweeted, they have confirmed that Rashford, Bruno, McTominay, and Martinez are all back in full training. What that means as far as being match fit and back in the match day squad is still kind of unknown, but we do need bodies, because especially defense, like, we need Licha back like yesterday. So in his press conference, Ten Hag said Licha did ask to play, but still too soon for him to play. He's not going to risk him. With Bruno and McTominay, it's still up in the air. Ten Hag did seem a little bit more optimistic about those two. So I feel like if Bruno's fit, he's going to play. Even if Bruno's half fit, he's going to play. If Bruno's leg fell off, he'll probably still try to play. Rashford, though, does look like maybe he's ready to play as well. I know his issue wasn't too serious. McTominay's wasn't either. So it would be great to get back to even a half-strength squad. Criticize McTominay, criticize Rashford, criticize Bruno, or all you want to, but we need them. Rashford's not a bad player. Bruno's not a bad player. McTominay has his limitations, but he's also one of our top goal scorers, and he does cause problems. In midfield, he's useless, but in the final third, he's chaotic in a good way. So, but all you guys sitting down, this one might come as a bit of a shock to you. Mason Mount has picked up another injury in training. Gosh. So Mason Mount, since he's joined United, he's only played 14 matches in the league. He's only started 5 matches, and he's only averaged about 39 minutes per game since he's joined United. Only 2 starts in the Carabao Cup and 2 Champions League matches with 1 start in the Champions League. So that's Mason Mount. Again, I'm not skipping over anything and pointing the finger at Ten Hag, because you never know what kind of issues are going to pop up with the player. You don't know how a player is going to adapt to the league. You can't plan for injuries in a lot of ways. It is what it is. The problem is our medical staff, Mason Mount, just can't stay fit. I don't understand literally what is going on. Now, apparently Luke Shaw has also suffered a setback from his recovery. He's been out injured, and now once again. So this is exactly why I said many months ago that left back needs to be a priority. It's not the priority, but we don't need a right back. We need a left back. We need a left back who's ready for first team. We need a left back who has a good injury record. We need a left back who's younger. We've talked about Miguel Gutierrez. I talked about Bjorn Meyer. Melvin Bard is another example. These guys are good players. Ridvan Yilmaz at Rangers, another good player. Joshua Deutsch, who just joined Sassuolo this season, another good player. We need players. We need left backs. We can't keep doing this Aaron Wan-Bissaka thing, because it worked against Salah in the FA Cup. It has not worked since. Maguire's still out, so Evans and Casemiro are probably going to be our center back partnership again. The topic of all the injuries did come up in this press conference, and Ten Hag responded, I will never gamble with a player, never. It's about them and their futures. The safety and health of the player is high level. I don't know if it's training, if it's unfit players, or the medical staff, or a combination of all the above, but it's not even funny anymore how many injuries we're getting. If it's unfit players, because we know that both Mourinho and Ollie said these players aren't fit. They're just not fit. And when you're not fit and you play a very high-pressing, high-intensity system like Ten Hag's, the injuries can come. And that's like asking someone who doesn't really run, maybe just walks their dog a couple times a week, to go run a full marathon. They're going to get injured. It's just going to happen. That's why I always cringe a little bit, because I did my groin about 8 years ago. I always cringe a little bit when I see a player who's maybe been out for a few months coming on as a sub, and then their first action is to take the corner kick, and I'm like, I don't like the look of that. That's a good way to strain something. I don't know what's going on. I don't think it's Ten Hag's training. I mean, in the sense that he's doing anything wrong, because he didn't really have any injuries at Ajax. We saw Jurgen Klopp when he came into Liverpool and he started implementing his system. They picked up a few injuries as well as a result. And Liverpool play a very high-intensity system under Klopp. So maybe it's just players in general are just not fit for that style of play, and it takes a couple kind of squad generations and a couple windows of a manager to identify players with better fitness records. I don't know. But we also know the medical staff at United do have a lot of blood on their hands, literally blood on their hands, and they are not fit for purpose. That would be one of my top priorities. Aside from getting Ashworth, Barada, Wilcox working, second job, hire a brand new medical team. I don't care. Just get it done. Okay, well, that's enough of me ranting about injuries, because I could go on all day. Let's take a look at the match itself here. So let's look at Arsenal, oppositional analysis, right? Arsenal haven't lost a match since they were knocked out of the Champions League back in like, what was that, like April, early April or whatever. They lost out and they got knocked out to Bayern Munich. They've won 4 straight since. They've scored 13 goals in their last 4 matches and only conceded 2 goals. And that was to Spurs in that North London derby. That's insane. They typically line up in a 4-3-3, and Martin Odegaard kind of has that free role. He's kind of all over the place, but he spends a lot of his time in the final third, in and around the edge of the box on that high, like the up high right side. He gets a bit of a free role as an 8, but because of his movement, and whether or not Arsenal are in possession, it can be almost look like a 4-2-3-1 with Declan Rice kind of able to drop back and get involved as needed. Obviously, Thomas Partey will sit a little deeper or make some of those third man runs when necessary as well. When it comes to Arsenal's danger men, I mean, take your pick. Trossard's been playing on the left, and he's got 11 goals. Havertz through the middle, he's got 6 assists and 12 goals. Both can cause problems running around the box. Havertz in particularly could give our Casemiro a bit of a rough time because Casemiro is just not used to being in that situation. He's used to being in midfield where he's got a little bit more breathing room. And like we saw against Burnley when we gave away that penalty, he tried to head it back to Onana instead of just getting rid of it. And it's just that because, and I don't hold him too much because he's not a center back, but at the same time, he's also a 31-year-old Champions League winner. He should know better. Just get rid of it. Then you have Saka, Bukayo Saka, who's got 9 assists and 16 goals, and he just has that knack. He's one of those players, reminds me a lot of Bale or Arjen Robben, who you know what he's going to do. He's going to cut in onto his left foot and get a shot off. And it's not always going to be a screamer. Sometimes he's been doing a lot of like those low shots. So hopefully Onana's been watching that and our defenders have been watching that. But it's one of those players, again, like Bale or Arjen Robben, you know it's coming. You can't stop it, you know. We thought Antony was going to be that, but after a couple of those goals early on last season, but he's since like he's getting them on target in the last few matches. They're just going right at the keeper, so it is what it is. But Saka, he is going to give Aaron Wan-Bissaka a hard time if Wan-Bissaka lines up on the left. It's going to make it for a long day for Spider-One. Thomas Partey is obviously back. He's looked good. Declan Rice, of course, is just a class midfielder. He's really shown his attacking abilities since joining Arsenal this season. He's got 8 assists and 7 goals from that like 8/6 role, which is pretty good. And obviously, Martin Odegaard is the conduit for Arsenal, everything Arsenal do. He sets the tone. He leads by example. Not only do things tend to move through him, but his 8 goals and 8 assists make him a threat in the final third. We need to watch a lot of his runs. He's got like that Modric level Goody almost. You remember Goody from Real Madrid? That pass where the timing is just not normal timing of the way he passes the ball. You think he's going to, like in a normal stride, maybe hit it with his right, but like he'll just boom with his left. And like these no look for these teammates of his that are just making these little darting runs in and around our box. And we have to be alert. We have to be switched on because that will punish us. Onana's got to be alert. Communication, you know, knowing who to pick up, who to leave, talk to each other. Don't just assume someone else is going to take responsibility. People need to take the initiative, attack balls, attack the opposition, and just do your job first and foremost. Clear the danger, and then we can regroup. The problem, too, is Arsenal's defense is stingy. Stingiest in the league, in fact. They've only conceded 28 goals, which is the best in the league right now. But it's also easy to look good defensively when you're not being called for fouling the opposition in the box. Looking at you, Gabriel. Because we are still owed a penalty for that foul on Rasmus Højlund earlier in the season. Oh, United. Where do I start with United? We're shit. Is that enough analysis for you for the day? I mean, seriously, though, we're shit. We're massive underdogs going into this. Even though it's at Old Trafford, we're massive underdogs. Anyone who says otherwise is an Arsenal fan trying to gas us up to make it seem like more impressive that when they beat us. That's all that happens. Liverpool fans do it all the time. City fans are going to do it going to the final. They're going to be like, oh, Haaland hasn't scored in 2 matches. You guys have a good chance. Like, come on, shut up. Go worry about your court case. We win in our last 5 matches, and we've only scored 1 goal in our last 2 matches. And we've conceded 5 in those last 2 matches as well. It's not good form. This is relegation form. This is sackable offense form. This is bye-bye Europe, taking a year off to regroup kind of form. This is looking a lot more and more likely. Which also means bye-bye Sean trip to Manchester in October. Maybe we'll hold out for February, March. We can get a domestic cup game in there as well, kind of form. So obviously we were embarrassed against Crystal Palace last weekend after a very limp performance from the team. And again, an embarrassing reluctance of Ten Hag to change things up. It's just more the same and hoping that it works, and it's not working. I want to say that I hope Ten Hag will set us up to play a little bit more pragmatic, but I think we all know that's not going to happen. I'd also like to say I hope we don't start Casemiro and Eriksen in midfield, but I think that's wishful thinking, right? Arsenal will make the way they play in the final third, especially with Odegaard, they're going to make Casemiro look like he's frozen in time, and they're going to press Eriksen to death, and they're not going to give him any time. And they move the ball so good in the attack. Eriksen, they're just going to leave him behind every time Arsenal go on the attack because he's next to useless. Remember, we all thought Pogba was horrible in defense. Eriksen's worse. Eriksen is basically just that red jersey. She might as well just be a red carpet for the opposition. That's all he is when we don't have the ball. As far as Casemiro, it might even, if you were a betting man or a betting person, it might even be worth a cheeky bet to put Casemiro as nailed on to get a red card in this one. The way he just seems to be behind everything. He's too slow. He's going for these stupid sliding tackles. I anticipate we're going to concede a penalty because of him. I anticipate that he will see a red card because of a stupid tackle. And quite honestly, the way he's been playing, his body language, his facial expression, just says lackluster, half-hearted everything. I wouldn't even think he'd be that upset to be sent off. I think he'd be like, oh, good, that's over. I'm done. But problem is we don't have a choice but to start Casemiro in defense because that's just where we are with injuries. But I do think that instead of Eriksen, I would play Amrabat. He's looked fine when he's come on. I'm not saying that doesn't mean he's looked great, but he's looked better than Eriksen. No, he's not going to ping a ball like Eriksen. At least we haven't seen that from him in a United shirt. We know he can. If you look at his numbers and his performances at Fiorentina, he is a ball-playing, progressing midfielder. He's not this destroyer that the World Cup made him look like. He is. That's just the way Morocco had to play because they're underdogs. When you're underdogs, you play counterattack, like park the bus football. No, Amrabat is a ball progressing midfielder. He always has been. We just haven't seen it enough because I don't think he's up to the pace and the physicality of the Premier League. And I think that he's just not, his mind doesn't move quickly enough as it needs to do in this league. And so we haven't seen enough of it. And it's not entirely up to him because when he came in and we had to play, he didn't get to play in his preferred position. We had to play him at left back, and then he's injured, and he went to AFCON and all this. So it is what it is. But we need him or McTominay if McTominay's fit in midfield, just to add a little bit more of a physical presence, at least be a body, not to get dribbled past. I don't even care if McTominay follows somebody left every now and then. At least you're doing something. So what would be my starting 11 prediction? This is my prediction. This is not what I want. This is just how I predict Ten Hag will go. I think we're going to see Onana, Dalot, Casemiro, Evans, and Wan-Bissaka. I think we'll see Manu and McTominay because I do think that McTominay will be back. I think we'll see Garnacho on the left, Bruno in the 10, Antony on the right, and Højlund up front. I don't know if Rashford's going to be fully ready to start, but it could. It's difficult to predict, right? With Bruno, McTominay, and Rashford's fitness still kind of that 50-50. I do think if Bruno is even half fit, he's going to play, like I said earlier. If not, if Bruno's not fit, obviously Mount's injured, we need a number 10. Barring a complete change in formation, which I don't see Ten Hag doing because he can't make changes at all. I don't think he will, but I would play Ahmad in the number 10. So if you watched Ahmad when he's been on loan, so obviously he was at Rangers 2 seasons ago, and then last year he was at Sunderland. At Sunderland, he actually played a number 10 more often than not. And he was excellent at Sunderland. If you guys don't have ESPN Plus, get it. You need to start watching Eredivisie. You need to start watching Bundesliga, the Belgian League, Championship. Watch it all, because I watched a lot of him when he was at Sunderland, and he was immense. He scored 13 goals and got 3 assists for Sunderland, and he's in that number 10. But like kind of like what Bruno does, he was given license to move around a little bit, which was very bold for Sunderland's manager to do for a young player, but he did it and it worked out. So I doubt that we'll see Ahmad in the number 10. We can't even see Ahmad on the wing, even though he's better than I think he's better than Anthony. I'm not one of the people who's like, play him on the wing. I don't think he's been like class. Like, he's come on and he's had some opportunities to show. He's made a few mistakes and stuff, but we'll see. I think that he's a little bit riding that goal against Liverpool for a little while, but just fine. I mean, we love him for that and we celebrate that. And I do think he is better than Anthony, but it's not up to me. So we'll see what happens. We need points, though. We need points like a farmer needs rain. It's just not. I don't think we're going to get them this weekend is the problem. And then maybe you think I'm pessimistic. I'm just not naive enough to think that we're going to beat Arsenal. We couldn't beat Burnley. We struggled against Coventry. We got destroyed by Crystal Palace. What makes anyone think we're going to win against Arsenal? Oddly enough, there's a part of me that's like, given how crap we are, for some reason, this would be the match that we somehow get something from. I'm not saying we'll win, but we would just do that. And I do predict, though, it's going to be 3-1 to Arsenal to beat us at home. But obviously, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that we can put a huge dent in their title chances, because that would be great. But I just don't see it happening. They're way too good. We are not very good at all. We just don't have the players. Even if we had a fully fit squad, would you still put us as favorites? You can point to the game early in the season, the reverse fixture, which was closer than the scoreline would have you believe. Mostly because we were denied a goal and a pen that we should have had both for. And, Lissandro was still out, basically. I can't remember, did he start that match? But he was not fit. So it was like a half-fit Lissandro Martinez, which, we're always going to struggle with. So we'll see. 3-1 is my prediction. I'd love to hear yours. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the starting 11 prediction, the score prediction, your thoughts on the match, your thoughts on Ten Hag press conference today. And how we go from there. We'll keep an eye on the news tonight and tomorrow. Probably wait till, if I do another news roundup tomorrow, it'll be later on in the day, just because, we'll see. I got to see how much is coming out. Sometimes right before a match, there's not a whole lot of news, but maybe I'll find something else to come on and talk to you guys about. But obviously, we'll be back after the Arsenal match for my match reaction. And then we'll do 3 thoughts on the match the next day. But before you guys go, please, please, please do me a huge, huge favor and hit that like button. I see somebody else already hit that like button. That's awesome. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new. It really helps me know, who's out there, who's enjoying the content, who's trying to help the community grow. Leave a comment under the video if you're not here live. I will respond. I respond to everything. I will engage with you guys. And it lets me know what you guys think. I love to get perspectives. I don't like always just putting my views out there, because I know my views are not the only ones out there, and they're not the only right ones out there. They might be wrong. Who knows? But it's great to get some feedback, get some different opinions, different perspective, because that's life, right? We don't want to live in an echo chamber, and I, quite frankly, would like to get someone else's thoughts. So let me know what you think. Go check me out on Twitter, MUFC versus everybody, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks again. Bye.